Welcome to Caching Waves. This is an Elliott Wave update for Dogwifhat. If you've been following along, you know we've been trading all the way back in February, rode this up, but as of now have a completed 5-wave impulse marked out. Now off our wave 1 and 2 in blue, we came up shy of our targets. We were expecting 496 for our third, came up shy, same for our fifth. But if you take our second 1-2 in green, you can see our third wave was extended past the 1.618 as expected, a flat for our fourth, and our fifth wave came to expected targets. So everything in green hit ideal. We also have our pitchfork on, and early indications that our wave count is complete is when we drift outside of it. Now we can use extra indicators to make sure our count is accurate. You can see the RSI peaked at the third of the third, as well as our volume. So everything indicates that a 5-wave pattern is complete. Now for a wave 2, we expect between the 382 and the 618. One thing I have to note is we have come past that on linear, so technically can be complete, but I find it very difficult, almost impossible, to count a completion here, unless you go with very rare, low probability patterns. I'll discuss that more in a moment. Now, those of you that might be upset that perhaps a top is in on WIF for a very long time, there are a lot of other opportunities. I have no biases towards one coin or another. All I do is trade patterns. So it's nothing personal about Dogwifhat. I'm sure it'll stay popular for a long time. But if you're interested in price, it might take a while to get there. Now we'll talk about this correction down on the okay. So as of right now, I have this as WXYXZ if we are going to have a completed pattern. Reason being, this is very low probability to be a bottom. We came way too low for a potential impulse. This is 3 waves. You can see the chop down at this level. When you make these low retracements, you don't make a 5-wave impulse, chances are you're going to revisit that area again. Now, it doesn't have to be right now. There are multiple different paths, but my bias is we will eventually make new lows below this Y wave at about 147. Now, the pattern as a WXYXZ is an ABC, X, ABC zigzag, most likely another zigzag over here for our Z wave. Let's go down to the 1 hour. So one important thing to note, this is our 618 retracement of the last Y wave. This is the area I would expect a pivot right in this zone, or the larger 618 in the entire correction, which is right here. I have marked as a zone, as between 310 and 276. So very close to that zone, but we can pivot at any point. Now I have this marked as either a double combination if we get this Z. So this is a zigzag W. We had our X wave, and this is a flat as such. So in that scenario, this can also be counted as 5, so it can be a double zigzag ABC, ABC. But in both ways, it is a 3-wave move as a WXY. Okay, so in either aspect, whether this is a flat or a zigzag, most likely a flat just because of the deepness of the retracement, we're looking for 5 waves to complete here as our A, B, C before coming to new lows. Go down to the smaller time frames. Right now I have this labeled as a diagonal wave 1, our third wave. I'm not sure if our fourth is back 1 pivot or as a flat. I am expecting some sort of diagonal here though to complete our fifth. I'm just not sure how to label it currently, but this is the zones I'm looking for. Now our W wave off our X low, this is our target zone. We've already passed the 1-to-1, so looking for the 1.236 to the 1.618 and looking for a pivot. Now, if you're planning on trading this, you would wait for this to pan out and make a significant break, and then look for the short after the fact. Not financial advice, just giving you a little bit of education. It would look something like that, targeting those new lows. I wouldn't just trade into this, I'd wait for the setup personally. So looking for this to either make a 5-wave move off this pivot of wave 4, or it could be back and we make some sort of diagonal. Not sure exactly. This one I won't know till after the fact. Or if we get more price action, we can zone in a little bit more. Okay, option 2. Is a diagonal, similar to a WXYXZ. It mirrors it exactly. And that is, we have a diagonal as an A wave to the downside, as an ABC, ABC, and we get our other ABC. So a WXYXZ is the same pattern as a diagonal series of 3-wave moves. So in this situation, once we do make a new low, we can come up for our B wave, C wave to the downside, come to our log targets of our larger wave 1 and 2. So remember, this is bullish. It's just we're waiting for this wave 2 correction, and we will get an explosion eventually, just not now in my point of view. So those are our 2 current bearish scenarios. The most bullish scenario I have right now as the corrective form is this ends up making a flat, because we have 2 3-wave patterns. It's a 3-wave pattern in itself. We can extend to the upside for a larger B wave as high as 767. Invalidation is actually above 10. So we can get a move to the upside in 3-wave patterns that looks impulsive, but it ends up collapsing for our C wave after the fact. Still protect this A wave low as a running flat. So those are the things I'm tracking. This is a very difficult pattern to trade because you're going to get a lot of 3s and overlap. It's not going to be impulsive in that scenario. So just keep that in mind. If you do choose to trade this, you'd want to get your entry as close to this low as you can and just let it run, because all these moves tend to shake people out because you just get 3s all over the place, overlap. Now, is there a bullish scenario? Yes. But the only way I see that is if our WXY actually ended at this low. This would have to be a very, very odd looking diagonal, because we do have a series of 3s, right? This would technically still be a zigzag. Get our 3, 4, 5. But even that, in that sense, I wouldn't be interested till we actually complete it, like so, and I'd be interested over in this zone if we complete it. So you can see it's not very bullish either way you look at it. Now, if we go back to our flat, there is also an option. There's also an option, this is why this zone is so frustrating, that this is a flat in itself. This would be labeled an A rather than a W wave. It's a 3-wave move. Get our 3-wave move to the downside for our B, and we can actually get 5 waves because we did not invalidate here below the B level, and this does count as 5. So just keep in mind that we can get this 5, get a sideways consolidation and a 5th wave like so, and this becomes our W. So this is an A, B, C as a flat. We get our X wave like such, and if we zoom out, this is where we make that flat to the upside. And we get another 3-wave move to the upside before collapsing. So you can see why I'm hesitant to trade in this area. I'd be interested in potentially the short if we get a nice pattern. But even still, if we start consolidating sideways, I'd be very concerned of that wave 5 to create that A wave as a flat, right? So anyways, not a pretty pattern. There are trade setups there, and please realize that I am not shitting on this coin by any means. I'm just looking at the patterns and seeing the possibilities. I do not see this as bullish. The most extreme way you would have to consider this a bull scenario, and we actually ended somewhere over here because this is a 3-wave, is it would have to be like a WXYXZ, and even still it doesn't really make sense. This would have to be an X wave. This would have to be some sort of very odd looking triangle to complete. So anyways, I'm not even considering that, but yeah, you can see very, very ugly potential until we make that new low. Once we do make that new low, well, I'm very bullish at that fact, just not from this area. All right, guys, so that's it for Dogwifhat. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.